And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the On Waivers Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting out the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Overcast, about 67 degrees out here. My partner is podcasting from the beautiful shores of the Atlantic Ocean, or should I say the frozen tundra.
Of
the Northeast. James Amato, how you doing today?
We're getting pounded with a crazy nor'easter, which is, that's the famous storms up this way. Right now, it's easily like 10 inches of snow on the ground, but it's so windy. It's like piled up in some places, but not in the other places. So the wind and storm is playing games with my internet. So hopefully I don't freeze or, get any technical difficulties, but let's bring this.
Yeah, so we have folks listening in San Diego, California, Sentinel, Colorado, Tremont, New York, Santa Ana, California, Marlboro, New Jersey. Let's see here, Campbell, California, a couple more, Anchorage, Alaska, Manhattan, New York, View Park, Scotland, and Newark, New Jersey. Out here listening to the On Waivers podcast.
Actually know one of our Vegas listeners, and she's not even a Raider fan.
She's not even a Raider. Well, it's not. Let's see.
She listens. Yeah, but she listens. So
this will be a we'll have an announcement about the direction the show is going to be going as far as this goes. If you look at the picture behind me, for those who are watching on YouTube, you'll see the direction that we're going to be going after this episode. James, part of me is like, you know what? I want to start off with something a little different. Everybody's going to start off with the Rams and Lions trade, but I want to talk about the Patriots real quick because I think that this is a real crossroads that they're in right now with their organization. Because especially when you see the success of Brady with the Bucks, the Bucks team is loaded. So it's not. But
which they couldn't do in Foxborough, they could not bring that talent on.
But defensively, they could have been. If everybody played in New England, the defense could have been pretty good. But like as far as whatever. The point is, I thought it was interesting that Matthew Stafford did make the remark that he didn't want to go to New England. I don't view it as like a rebuilding situation because I feel like all the folks who opted out, if all those guys play, they're going to be a pretty good defense. But the Patriots are usually, even if they're not a great defense, they're usually opportunistic. They get turnovers, stuff like that. But when you make a point of saying that I'll go anywhere but New England, do you think that's just him, or do you think that's kind of a prevailing thought for future guys?
I got a lot of people texting me that screenshot, and a lot of those people didn't read the article. And, there's a lot more coming out on this trade now that we're hearing. So basically there were 7 teams involved. There were teams that made better offers than the Rams. But basically they put the 7 teams in front of Stafford, and Boomer Esiason was reporting it this morning, is that Stafford wanted to go to the Rams, and Detroit made that trade work for him. For all his years of service and loyalty, that they sent him to the Rams. And, this is almost like an NBA type swap where it's contract for contract. It's really offsetting each other. But yeah, I mean, you're obviously going to blow that out of proportion when, it wasn't exactly said, I don't want to go to the Patriots, but if you read the article, he didn't want to be the man to replace the man. Is how that article definitely reads. It's like he didn't want to be known as coming in really after Brady, although some people seem to be ignoring Cam Newton as being the man who came in. But it is what it is right now. I mean, they're gonna get a quarterback. Someone's gonna end up in New England, but they bring that defense back together and see if they can draft a wide receiver. They're in that area of the draft where a receiver should be for them, for the taking. So we'll go forward, but I'm not taking that Stafford headline about refusing to go to New England as to heart. He wanted to play for the Rams. And like I said, they said Washington had a better offer. Carolina had a better offer. Mm-hmm. Exactly, home state. So
I mean, the GM for the Lions spent his entire career with the Rams. So they had a built-in like kind of home, like I guess a home field advantage, if you
home
will,
field advantage.
where both of those guys, him and Les Snead, knew each other and they talked very well. And NFL was all about relationships. It's not even about anything else.
And after 10 plus years in playing inside, do you want to go play up in the Northeast or do you want to go play in Los Angeles?
Is there a concern that, well, I think with the Patriots, you can also look at a situation where the Colts don't have a quarterback anymore. Even Jacoby Brissett is a free agent. So maybe Jacoby Brissett comes to New England and you draft a guy. He could be that bridge to another quarterback. The only quarterback I could definitely, if they could come up with a plan to maybe get Jimmy back, I think that would be somebody who's already been there. If he stays on the field, he wins games for the most part. But I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stay on the field because he has not been able to do that his whole career in San Francisco.
Correct, he hasn't, and I'm one of the few, I guess, if you believe Twitter, one of the few Patriot fans who's not on the bring Jimmy back bandwagon. At this point, I think that boat has already sailed. Someone's going to show up somewhere. There's going to be an unexpected cut somewhere. You get to that March period. Hey, you never know. Maybe Detroit cuts Goff after the March 17th year starts. The NFL year starts that before they have to pay out a bonus. So and they'll take that extra cap hit. That's really what that second round pick was for, was taking on Goff's contract too. So, but yeah, I have confidence it's all going to come together. I know someone who was Bill Belichick's lacrosse teammate and roommate in college, and they talk on a regular basis. And, I remember him telling me that, Belichick liked Brissett more than he liked Garofalo. So, and it was tough for him to trade Brissett. So we'll see what happens going forward. But, me, when it comes to mock drafts in the off season, after the Super Bowl, I'll talk football in August.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, at least looking at Goff's contract right now, he's going to get paid, he's there for 21. He's there for 22. It seems like they have an out with no cap money in 2023. So like, everybody's making it seem like this contract was like you can never get out of it. You can definitely, I just had an update on my phone about the Jets and Watson, but it wasn't the trade. But as far as they can get out of it. So if they draft a guy, he'll be 28. He'll end up being a free agent. You can get out of this deal. So he did not perform the way he needed to perform. That team is pretty much loaded. They did it without draft picks. They just said, we're not doing draft picks. We don't know what that is. And I give them credit for it. Like they just said, hey, we're not gonna
do. They had no draft, real good draft.
They have. I mean, when they've actually had to draft, they've had some good picks, and they hit on most of them. But they just said, hey, we're gonna trade those guys. We're gonna trade those picks, or those first and second round picks, and get Jalen Ramsey to go out there and get this quarterback here, Matthew Stafford, and take it from there. It makes
And again, when they made the Ramsey trade, were they getting a better player at their position they would have been drafting that year?
I'm sure. I mean, I could go look, but I'm positive that Jalen Ramsey has more of an impact. I mean, the guy holds DK Metcalf to 0 catches in games. Like that is just like outstanding. I mean, he's a great defender.
They would have been picking 27th that year.
Yeah. When you're picking down there, it's like the Seahawks do the same thing. They do a good job. They always trade away that pick, and end of the first round because they figured that we can get somebody who's better than that player. It just makes more sense. I mean, I applaud the Rams for going after it. I mean, why not?
I mean, have we ever seen a trade in the NFL consumed this quickly?
Mm-hmm. I
mean, it was 72 hours later after he announced he wanted to go, maybe a week tops. But and like I said, there were 7 suitors, and there's already been leaks of 2 trades that were better all around packages for them.
And that's for the fans. When you leak that information, that's for the fans. So the fans in Chicago or the fans in all these other cities, they know that we tried, but they had an inside situation that let them get that player. I think it's pretty obvious.
They weren't trading him to Chicago. They just weren't.
I agree with you.
And I'm going to throw the Trubisky wild card out there for the Patriots, because Belichick was ready to trade to get Trubisky before the Bears drafted him.
Yeah. Trubisky to the Patriots?
I'm just saying.
It's possible. Listen, they have to upgrade. They have to upgrade in the worst possible way. There's no other way to. They have to get up. They have to upgrade that position. Otherwise, this is what happened with the Khalil Mack trade. They got Khalil Mack for no reason. Like it's just that simple. They got Khalil Mack for no reason. Got Khalil Mack for no reason whatsoever. Danny Amendola made the comments about today about, I'm sure you saw that, about the Patriot way the
Patriot way.
It was Patriot way is the Brady way, and you knew those shots, shots were coming. How do you feel about that part of it? And then do you feel like this is just like a player who was there, and now that he's not under the tutelage or that reign with the Patriots, he can go ahead and talk whatever trash he wants?
Yeah, I think it is that. And and this is also the same player who didn't want to leave the Patriots when they let him go. So,
and also a player who has not had nearly the success leaving the Patriots than he did when he was with the Patriots, and he played with a good quarterback in Detroit. He played with Stafford.
He did, and but look at his regular season stats. His regular season stats were average. He was big game Danny. He just seemed to come with the big games in the playoffs, which I loved. He just happened to go to a couple teams that weren't going to make the playoffs after he left the Patriots. Yeah. So I don't know how much is sour grapes or how much is it like I'm talking out now. Obviously, slamming Belichick isn't going to get you, kept from signing with another team because other teams don't like Belichick. It's not like he's out slamming some beloved coach or some beloved organization. He's not calling out the Rooneys. Yeah. So, he's not going to be blackballed from the game. But surprised. Yeah, I was surprised, but we've seen it before. We've seen other players leave the Patriots. I think the only 2 players who've ever left the Patriots and either gone into media and haven't slammed the Patriots have been Teddy Bruschi and
Ninkovich is on ESPN now, and he loves
Ninkovich. He loves the Patriots, but he's not 100% supportive. There's gonna be the defensive back who they got from the Chargers, who went to the Super Bowl and worried too much about hurting Tyree. Ronnie Harrison. Yeah, he's another full Patriot pom-pom guy. So. But you're not shocked. Gronk has spoken out now, and it's all about the freedom and everything. So, it's gonna happen.
Listen,
win on Sunday. Win on Sunday. Your fans aren't, big fans of Carr. So I'll definitely take Carr since all you Raider fans, you excluded, don't think he's a good quarterback. He could definitely come play for New England.
The moronic take of a nation of a team that does not win. It's fun. It's funny because I talk to people who watch a lot of film. A couple guys I know we have them on all the time. They're from the Tape Don't Lie Raiders YouTube channel, so check those guys out as well. And we asked them on the Cover 3D Raider podcast, hey, what do you see about Carr? And they say, everything about moving on from Carr is 100% fan driven, because on film he's a good player. He was top 10 in a lot of categories. You know how many points a game Matthew Stafford's Lions gave up the last 4 years under Patricia?
Yeah,
they averaged giving up 31 points a game.
Yeah,
how can you function as a football team giving up 31 points a game? the Raiders were not far behind. It's like it sounds like an excuse, right? But like, what do you feel
and
like?
I bet a lot of those Raider games were closer than Detroit games.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. A lot of them. I mean, look at the past season. The only game, the Bucks game, and then the Falcons game were the only two games where they, the score was just like boom. They had no chance from the get go. So, as far as that goes, but that's neither here nor there as far as that goes. So, like, look at the Rams situation now. They get Stafford with that defense, with those receivers, with those two tight ends. They got Cam Akers, who came on really strong at the running back position later in the year. You view them as going into next year, even if they do, a couple minor things here and there, because they probably don't have the salary cap to do anything else. You feel like they are in the top three in the NFC, and they got to compete. They're definitely in that mix for NFC title, right?
Top three,
with the Bucks and the Packers being the other two teams.
Yeah, I would say that. That's if Rodgers, doesn't go anywhere.
It sounds like the Rams. It sounds like the Rams were knocking on the door, and the Packers were telling them no.
Rams, that's who they went to first.
Yes.
Go after the other California boy.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
They knocked early and off, and like they were just. I mean, you saw that weird press conference at the end of the year where there was no committals to Jared Goff, and I guess there wasn't. That's really the first time like you've seen that from an organization in a while.
I think it was also something where they said about the thing I got from them too was like he wasn't the first one in, last one to leave. Like, he wasn't that. So I think
I don't think if Stafford was available, I don't think they would have traded Goff. I think they would have gone into next year with Goff. I think it's just that opportunity comes up, and when you get that call, like, hey, he wants to come play for you, let's make this work.
I'm interested to see because his numbers come down dramatically in cold weather. So when he has to play Green Bay, when he has to play, Green Bay has to play Chicago, those teams, I want to see how Jared Goff does as far as that goes. It's interesting that the Lions and the Vikings, they just have never, ever since they went dome, they have never won anything. Ever since they went dome, which is crazy.
What's amazing is I saw this the other day is they listed the top 10 winning franchises in the Super Bowl era. And the Vikings are one of them. And the Vikings were the only team in the top 10 without a Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
I think they were like number 5.
They do. I mean, they're never really bad. Like think about like I can't even think about a time in my lifetime where
I don't think I've ever seen them win less than 7 games.
It's crazy. I mean, like if they have been pretty good for now, that kind of interests me now. I gotta check. I want to check out how good the Vikings have been over the last couple of last years. Vikings. Let's see. Team record. Because they really have been a pretty good squad as far as that goes. So let's go to. We got some great names playing for the Vikings too. I mean, it's just if we pop up with John Randall, Chris Carter, all those guys. So let's see here.
They had a pretty good stretch of quarterbacks too for a while there.
Yeah, let's start. We'll just start at 1990. So 6-10, 8-8, 11-5, 9-7, 10-6, 8-8, 9-7, 9-7. The infamous 15-1 year where they lost to the Falcons. 10-6. Let's see, 10-6, 11-5, 5-11, 6-10. Then they turn it back around, 9-7, 8-8, 9-7, 6-10, 8-8. I mean, as soon as they have a losing season, they come right back. In 2008, 10-6, 12-4, lost in the championship game. 6-10, 13-3. Yeah, they're 3-13. They have 2 back-to-back years, but then they come back with a 10-6 year. So they really, I mean, they're up there, man. They're up there.
I bet if you go 66 through 90, there's probably no years with less than 9 wins. And you think about the seasons before the extra wild card, where they may have missed the playoffs as a 10-win team.
66 through, I mean, they have a lot of big years in and because they have a 10-6 year.
The Bud Grant years were incredible.
Yeah, and then you have the year where they had who was the coach before Denny Green? who always screwed up. What's his name again? Jerry Burns.
Yes.
Good old Jerry Burns. Yes. Looked like he was taking a poop every time you see him on the sidelines. Yeah, but Jerry Burns. But yeah, the Vikings, I still think that one of the biggest things they don't do is play outside. I think if they played outside, they would be outstanding if they played outside, because it would give them a bigger home field advantage. But listen, I don't live in Minnesota.
Not many teams went into Minnesota in December or January when playoff games.
Is it it must be distinctly colder in Michigan. And did you see the Michigan, the Lake Michigan, how frozen it is? And it's
yes, that's crazy.
Waves of ice. That was nuts. But